We are now almost officially leaving Europe and heading to the Americas, and I am very pleased to give a great big welcome to Sheng-Hung Lee, an MIT Age Lab researcher, MIT Pro Course Experience Designer, MIT Office of Sustainability Fellow, and Vice Chair of IDSA Boston Chapter. Sheng-Hung trained as an industrial designer and electrical engineer, and his approach to problem solving is influenced by his passion for how design and technology impact and can be integrated into society. His work has won prestigious awards, including IDA Gold, Bronze Prize, Core 77 Design Award, Red Dot Best of the Best, Spark Design Award, European Product Design Award, and an IF Award. His work has been showcased in Dubai Design Week, Venice Design Week, and the Cooper Hewitt Museum. Sheng-Hung is going to take us on a journey through design leadership in MIT Laboratories. Welcome, Sheng-Hung.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm actually taking a screenshot, but I realize only myself, so.
We'll have an opportunity to take a picture together at the end.
Where's my audience? Oh my gosh. I'm very happy to be here, and I prepared like a pink post-it note to match our theme today. Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. Oh, can I share my screen now?
Absolutely, please do. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. I love this time because it's not like food coma and you can still awake.
Depends where you're watching from. We've got people watching from all over the world right now.
Oh, yes. Totally forgot. Yes. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I'm Sheng-Hung. I'm from Cambridge in the United States. And today I'm very happy to share with you guys my learning. It's very short learning about a look into design leadership in MIT labs. Like 4 different labs I'm going to share with you guys. So I'm Sheng-Hung, like designer, maker, engineer by training, and then did a lot of like very active in design, like circle, and love design, passion design, live in design. And currently I start and work with Continuum and IDEO, and then teach at school in Shanghai. And after that, I joined MIT and now work with different labs, ranging from Age Lab, Ideation Lab, recently joined Golf Lab, and also designed like online curriculum course with MIT X-Pro, and also work with MIT Office of Sustainability. For sure, I also love my home, IDSA Boston. So I'm currently serve as the chair of IDSA Boston. So I think for me today, very simple, like 2 questions I want to share with everyone is, what is design leadership and why does it matter not only to designer like us, but also to all of us, right? Not just for designer, also for engineer, for people with different backgrounds, business people. The second question is like, how do we practice design leadership? It's a critical human skill in the era of like transformational change. Like because of like everything like climate change, right? Especially COVID, post-COVID, everything happens so fast. How do you leverage or use design leadership skill to tackle, not just tackle, solve, also reframe these challenges? I think it's important for everyone. So what is design leadership? The way that I break down this, like I look not into the whole term, also look at 2 words like design and leadership, right? So for me, design is like you kind of decoding signal, you kind of gathering different signal from different background, in different contexts. And that's the design in a very simple way to explain this idea. And what is leadership? And for me, I got very inspired by very famous innovative speaker on YouTube, online, it's Simon Sinek, right? So he said like leadership is more like a parenting. You have to like take care of your kids, right? You have to take care of people that work with you, work for you. So that's kind of my very quick understanding about leadership. But at the same time, because my mother tongue is Chinese and Mandarin, so I think about leadership in Chinese is called 领导. So basically it's like lead and guide. So kind of leading people, you're guiding people. And then it's a skill, it's a human skill that takes practice. I think it's very critical nowadays because how do you transform yourself from inspiration designers to enlightened design leaders? And that takes practice. That it's not like you're born with leaders. No, you have to learn from the teamwork. You have to learn from your mistake. You have to learn from the previous experiences. So I'm thinking about, okay, when I look at this idea, design leadership, I start to brainstorming, right? So for me, I'm thinking about growth, leading, parenting, inspired by Simon Sinek's talk, learning, guiding, managing, right? We have like position called project manager, right? But we're not really manage people. We're leading people. We're guiding people, right? And then we also, when I think about leadership, I think about like confidence, right? How do you empower? How do you cultivate your creative confidence to other people in your team? And how to do like creative collaboration with your team? Because in order to have leaders or design leaders, you have to have followers, right? Otherwise, who's going to lead with, right? So you have to. So these are things like help me to brainstorm like this very high level abstract concept, like a mentor, coach, leadership. They all like kind of similar, but also very different. So I guess for me, I I love this word. I love this idea. Leaders like leadership, mentor, coach, because for me, I think one of my like personalities, I always love to jump or swim into the unknown, the sea of unknown. Like nobody did this before. Like nobody have done this before or have tried this before. And this is, I feel like, where's the leaders comes from. You have to like take responsibility. You have to try something new, never done before. You have to like willing to take the risk. And that's why today I want to show you like when I jump into this unknown, which means like different labs, what I observe and see through the lens of leadership. So today, the four different labs I'm going to share with you guys. It's the lab I'm working with, and very lucky to work with different labs, four different labs at MIT, and I'm going to break down like four sections, so you can see the project I'm working with them before, or still working with them, the feelings I have. It's very personal, very private, and who are the leaders in the lab, right? And what's the position in terms of design in the lab culture. So four very simple structure to kind of help everyone understand what when I talk about four different labs, right? First one, age lab. So I will, these are like overview. I will like dive into each one in the later slides. Age lab work with them under the advice of Dr. Joseph Coughlin. I work with Golf Lab and recently joined work with Professor Lily and also Carlos and the whole government innovation team. And also work with MIT Ideation Lab, and they do a lot of like education related research under advice of Professor Maria. And then I also worked with them like for 3 years. And then for sure, MIT Office of Sustainability is a year-long fellowship project. We're with Dr. Julie Newman. So we view campus as a test bed to try to experiment some design ideas or design thinking process. Pretty cool. These are the four labs I'm going to share with you guys in terms of design leadership. The first one, Age Lab. So I mainly work with my master thesis with them to talk about redesign the footwear for the aging population. And there's a smart home project related to that topic. And then for me, what I feel about the lab culture is like, it's very teamwork, it's very collaborative, and also very accessible, which means like every time I ask for help, people are willing to help me. At the same time, it's very like a nomadic style. What I mean by that is like, because people already feel trust on everyone. So that's why you feel everyone is very independent. But at the same time, you have the freedom to try the things you want to try. So that's kind of the feelings I have when we talk about design leadership. And then for sure, for me, myself, I feel like in this lab, design is more like an innovation driving force. It's like they drive a lot of things happening because in the research of aging, how to use design to drive the conversation, how do you apply design to challenge the current research process. And that's the thing I feel super interesting and super, super inspiring. And the second lab I'm working with is Golf Lab. So especially like focus on governance innovation. I just joined the lab for like about two months. And then it's definitely a very cool lab. Like think about as designer, how to design curriculum or education system to talk about power distribution, to talk about ethics, right? And then I feel like because this lab belongs to political science department, So I thought, original thought is very like hierarchical, very like organized, structural, but actually it's the opposite. Because so the topic we discuss or design is it's so like a political like subject. And how do you in the team, how do you create like a reliable kind of atmosphere or vibe to make sure people trust each other, people like fuse each other, like you kind of merge everyone's superpower together. And I feel because of that kind of vibe atmosphere, I feel design is more as a catalyst in the lab in that kind of setting context. Yeah. So currently I'm focused on like a curriculum design with Garp Lab. At the same time, we also think about host some like hackathon planning project with bureaucrat, with citizen, with designers together. Pretty cool. And then definitely we talk a lot of leadership topic in the lab. The third lab I want to share with you guys is MIT Ideation Lab. So basically, the lab culture is like fluid, very responsive, people caring each other, and it's very dynamic. And the difference between the previous two labs, like Age Lab and also Garp Lab, is like people in Ideation Lab, they mainly have design background. They're mainly designers. So for me, when we talk about design leadership or talk about design leaders or the concept, it's more about, yeah, we know already. It's more about how do we challenge ourselves? What's next, right? When we talk about design leadership, what's next? How do you build that culture? And how do you use the leadership role to motivate people, right? Not just like be good to yourself, also how do you contribute to the community in the lab? And I feel that's why the position of design is more like a prerequisite condition. It's already there. And how do you challenge that to push the next step, or what's the future we envision together that makes sense, not just for design leaders, also for other people in this community. And in the lab, I mainly supporting like they open some design related class, and also focus on design research a lot. The last lab is not really a lab, it's more like office I work with. It's called MIT Office of Sustainability. And it's pretty cool. Like, I feel like this is my first working experience work with office on campus. So the setup is very different compared with lab. The funding source is different, and the way they structure the office member is very different from the lab member, lab scientist. So for me, the feeling is more like it's very structured, very organized, and also at the same time they have very clear guidance and also open-minded people together. And for me, I feel like when I work with this kind of environment, like because sustainable issue is a big topic. Everyone wants to be on piece of pie, right? So how do you design a system or mechanism like that people feel engaged at the same time they feel like they could contribute in part of this journey with people? And I feel design position or designer's position in the lab is more like a mentoring, not just like, oh, you finish your job, finish your task. It's more like you have to help people, let them understand the value and the power of design. And I think that could be part of the design leaders they need to do, right? So I feel like this is super cool. Like for me, definitely it's the unknown. I jump into that unknown area, and then I try to use design to open the conversation. And I'm very glad that the leader is super supportive, and also the lab members super supportive. So now they think about, oh, how they want to use like design thinking or design framework to tackle all this like systemic or complicated design challenges like climate challenge, for example. So when we look at abroad, like there's 4 types of labs or office, you could see like some lab make me feel like more like a free, very like a freestyle, and some is more like, yeah, we work close together. It's very like dynamics vibe, and also some is more responsive, and some is more like we have very structured, clear structure, but we are very open-minded. We want to give like clear guidance on the things we want to work or achieve. So these are the 4 labs I want to share, and then this really helped me reflect, right? Today's topic, design leadership or leadership in general. What are the designer's role and responsibility in this like context? So, like I said, how do we view ourselves from inspiring designers to enlighten design leaders or enlighten leaders. And that's why it comes like 4 key takeaway for this talk, for this like short sharing. So first one, I feel definitely like you have to be trustworthy, right? Trust is the design foundation to unlock potential to do what you want to do within labs or companies. And I feel that's so important and easy to be ignored as a person, because you always think, I want to get things done, but how do you think in your leader's shoes, right? How do you think you're in your partner's shoes to make sure people trust you, to really want to rely on you? And these are, I think this is definitely a fundamental for everything we talk about. Without trust, it's hard to move forward. Even like just like tiny fall on that is really hard, becomes so difficult. And the second learning I have is be interactive, right? I think it is critical to be engaging with your communities, both in either physical environment or digital space. It not only shows your existence, but also express your opinions. I feel like you could think about this as an extension of the first one, be trustworthy, because you have to be engaged and active with other people to communicate your idea so that people can trust you. And that's why this actually all comes from the first one, trust, building trust with others. That's why I feel like the second one is more like you have to make sure you have very clear and transparent communication channel with your team members in labs or in the company in order to strengthen or enhance the trust building with other people. The third one, I feel for me is hard sometimes, like be yourself. That's really hard. It sounds easy, but it's really hard. How do you listen or gather other people's feedback? It's important. We know it's important, but at the same time, how do you like hold your perspective and be yourself against the various opinions, right? Some people say, oh, A is good, so you go to A option for design as design solution, but you have your own observation, you have your own intuition based on experiences. How do you say no? How do you learn to say no, but at the same time, people didn't feel offended, right? Leading doesn't mean it doesn't mean that you always need to follow other people. You have to be yourself, because that will be like more sustainable. Otherwise, you just pretend you agree, but you're not happy. You cannot be yourself, which means like you never really solve the challenges. You cannot give yourself more burden and pain, which I don't think that's the true or that's the sustainable design leadership essence or spirit. And last one, I think is also hard. I'm also learning from it, like how to be a people person, right? It's not just well-rounded person, also like well-connected person as design leaders. You have to know how to pay back when you receive help from others. Like you keep like receive the flavor, but at the same time, how do you contribute to your team and become a people person so people want to approach you, ask for help as leaders. At the same time, as leaders, they're willing to take risk to help others to achieve their goals. So I feel like the 4 key learnings, be trustworthy, be interactive, be yourself, and be a people person, is kind of what I observed in the short amount of 3 years time at MIT, work with different labs, and kind of like a short summary and the learning point. And I hope it's useful for everyone. I know we have 10 minutes left, but I'm kind of finished this a bit earlier. So that's kind of what I have today, and very happy, very privileged to join this like World Industrial Design Day hosted by WDO. I'm very happy to be here with everyone, and feel free to reach out to me either through LinkedIn or Instagram. I'm happy to discuss with you more about this topic because it's important, it's critical.
Great. We couldn't agree more. And that's why we will continue for the next 10 minutes with maybe a couple of questions, if you don't mind, Sheng-Hung.
Yes.
The first one I have for you is, I mean, the last 2 points that you were just sharing with your summary of those 4 points where you were talking about being yourself, being a people person, I wonder if your opinion, or have you thought about what doesn't make a design leader? Are there people that are kind of naturally excluded from those design leadership positions or possibilities because they might be a little bit more introverted, or they're maybe not those natural storytellers, or those who are, pitching ideas and bringing people together? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, totally. I think this is a great question. Also, it's a tough question because I feel I feel for me, I used to be like very introvert person, and then somehow because of working experiences, because work with design consultancy, you have to keep in touch with your client, with the sponsors, and then that's what kind of transformed myself, or like forced me to become a little bit more extrovert person.
Hmm.
And I feel like as an introvert person or designer, you still need to find a balance, right? Like definitely you still need to be yourself. I think it's more about how do you find the comfortable way to talk about, to communicate your ideas with others. Not just like you don't need to lead people. I think it's more like you have to let people know what you want, and you have time, right, to express your ideas and thoughts. So that's why to make the conversation flow, to make your ideas flow, to really work to engage with the team. Because I feel like nowadays, like there's no single designer could solve any problems in the world. It's all like collective effort.
Hmm.
So as a part of the team, right? It's also like how do you designers? I feel like people probably think, okay, one people. No, even within design leadership, it's a leadership team.
Right.
So how do you make that communication flow and transparent? And that's the skill everyone need to practice. Either you're an extrovert person or introvert person, you still need that human skill. Otherwise, you just isolate yourself. You cannot functioning, which I think that's the best like situation. Yeah.
There's no progress that way. I would absolutely agree. I think, Sheng-Hung, I'm curious to know if there was anything that you had to unlearn. Was there like a process of unlearning, or trying to retrain yourself into the design leader that you are today?
Yeah, let me stop sharing my screen because I want to see your face. Did I? Oh,
Yep.
yes, cool. No, I think for me, like um, for the unlearn part, I feel like definitely you have to reset yourself and willing to take opinions. That's really hard, to be honest. Like when I first time worked with like design consultancy, like Idea or Continuum, I always like close my door. Don't touch my, please. I'm the expert. Don't touch my design. I need more time rendering, sketching, and then I will show you the solution. I think that kind of mindset need to be adjusted because as design leader or leader in general, like you have to willing to listen people, and then how do you open yourself, right? Open yourself for me is more like reset. You have
Hmm.
to open yourself, reset yourself. Think about, okay, how do you let people into your thinking process? So that's why that's the way you can engage with people, connect with people to know what they need. So that's you have the conversation with others. And then that's the thing, like if you don't reset yourself, you always like think about the only way to achieve the goal, which is not practical. It's not ideal situation if you want to be a real design leaders in the team. Yeah.
And when did you feel like I'm a design leader?
I'm design follower.
Any day now. Any day now.
It's hard. It's hard. I feel like in some conversation, in some teams, I'm more like a follower because I'm not the expert in that domain of, for example, when I joined MIT Lab, I'm definitely not the leader in the political science part. But in terms of like a design or in terms of like creative part, I definitely want to step up as leaders to lead the conversation. And I feel people need to learn that multiple roles in different situations because you can't have the mindset I'm the leader, so that's why every conversation people need to follow me, obey what I said. No,
Hmm.
it's more like leaders should be the people who speak at the last because they need to
Mm.
listen first, right? You have to listen first and then speak at the last, and that's the mindset we all need to learn because if you don't listen, there's no input. How do you give a great feedback to other people? Yeah, and it's sometimes good to be non-leaders.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
What do you
because
mean?
no, because why? I mean, if you feel you have to be yourself, right? If you feel this is not my thing, this is not it's out of my control, you shouldn't force yourself to take everything on yourself. I feel like you have to because somehow the balance, like yeah, nobody say you need to be leader and then you always be a leader. No, you have to know where's your boundary because definitely if it's a collective decision, there's someone better than you. They should lead you. They should mentor you. Yeah, I feel I have that kind of mindset. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. What do you say to some of the younger students, those who are in their undergrad or just starting their postgraduate degrees, who aren't sure, what the next steps are for them, or maybe they're lacking that creative confidence? What would you say to somebody in that position?
I feel for me because I'm the slow learner, and I really believe that, truly believe that I want to do everything well, very solid. So I feel like in order to talk about design leaders or leadership, that kind of topic, you have to lay a great foundation. And then I do feel like when you in school, the critical things like make sure you acquire the basic skill, because that's your fuel to make you like drive longer, and then that's the feel, that's the thing, like let people trust you, or you could build critics based on the things you learn and acquire, and then lay that foundation. I know it's boring, it's hard, it takes time, but you have to be patient. That's part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'd agree. I think that this was a very, very insightful presentation. I think that there's a lot that might be familiar to some of our watchers and listeners out there today, but a lot of new takeaways for them as well. So thank you so much, Sheng-Hung, for sharing your time with us and your presentation.
Yes, thank you so much. Cool. Should I turn off the screen?
Yeah, sure. And happy World Industrial Design Day.
You too.
Thank you.